Hello to my fellow history lovers and people who think if I learn something new, it will be a good day. We are on part 3 of the meteoric rise of Thomas Paine and the violent fall. So you might have noticed my brooch here, which is a rooster. That was the symbol of the French Revolution, which is the next part of Thomas Paine's story. So remember, he has written the book Rights of Man and dedicated it to Washington, which put Washington in a really difficult position because it's very anti-monarchy, and at the time we're trying to sort of reach out the hand of friendship to Britain. And so he's kicked out of Britain, that's Paine, and now he goes to France where he's actually welcomed. So he is again on a high. He's actually, believe it or not, invited to be part of their equivalent of their Congress. I think it was called the National Convention, even though he doesn't even speak French, because he's sort of the personification of liberty, riding high on his new book, Rights of Man. And then things once again go bad for him. And here's where things don't go well. They make a vote on whether they should execute the king. And Paine actually votes against it. And his reasoning is, this is going to spin out of control. This is more about violence and less about creating, this idea of democracy. So he votes against it. Well, the other revolutionaries look at him and they think, okay, never mind you, because you don't even speak French, you're American, apparently you like the monarchy, you must be the enemy of the people. And so he is tossed in prison, and it gets even worse. He's quite ill, but he thinks, well, I'll be kind of protected because I'm an American citizen, right? So he writes a letter to Governor Morris, and it's not who is sort of the representative to France, the U.S. representative to France. And he's not actually technically a governor, but his name is Governor, which is interesting, but it's Gouveneur or something like that. But his name is Governor Morris. But thinking they'll get him out. I'm American, they're going to get me out. But Governor Morris says, basically you took French citizens. The French argue you're French because as part of the National Convention, he's part of their Congress, you are French. And also between Morris and Paine, unfortunately for Paine, there had already been some disagreements earlier on about, it goes a long way back to Robert Morris and Silas Deane and some concerns about war profiteering, but they had already had a little bit of a scuffle. And also, maybe more in fairness to Governor Morris, he looks at Paine, as did many of the founders, who are thinking, we've got a pretty fragile democracy here, and this liberty thing is going off the rails in the French Revolution. They are guillotining people, they're killing people. This is gone too far, and they think he is too radical. So basically Morris is like, sorry, but can't do anything. And then he writes to Washington, who pretty much ignores him, and he is stuck in prison. And then one day the soldiers come and mark his door to be executed the next day. Let's see what happens.